us this morning again on AM Today on Osrc television. And I was thinking while you were making that introduction that perhaps the euphoria of the weekend is carrying Shade away this morning.
What do
Today is
you
the
mean?
ninth day in the month of
Okay.
October. Don't take us back a little. So perhaps the weekend was really,
You can say that again.
enjoyable for you, and of course you thought we still have more days, to still count on. But 9th of October 2023, and of course another time to go out there and do great things. This morning we're here as usual to serve you with updates.
All right, let's start with the New Telegraph this morning. On the New Telegraph, 2023 polls aftermath. Political cases causing conjectures in courts. That's coming from lawyers saying that political cases are causing conjectures in court. Anyway, as usual, you know how it is after elections in Nigeria. Everybody, especially the losers, want to try their chances in court by not accepting of the results. Now we're having conjectures in court. Well, writers to that story says blame preference for such matters. Once adjudication of political cases redefined. Well, maybe that's is going to be a solution to the matter. Chapters 2, 14 and 16 for details of that story that's on the New Telegraph. Still on the New Telegraph, CBN. Currency in circulation rises by 3.8% to 2.8 trillion naira. Well, this is of that you also find on the New Telegraph this morning, especially on the front page of the New Telegraph. Still on the New Telegraph, parties yet to upload 96,356 agents for poll. INEC, that's coming from INEC there. It says threats over rising insecurity. Where you find this on pages 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph. On pages 25 of the New Telegraph, you find privatize moribund refineries. The Senate tells federal government. Right, and on page 3, word without cultural diversity will be boring. That's from the ex-president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Actually, word without cultural diversity really will be boring, right? Don't you think? When if all of us are dressing the same,
Variety is the
yes,
spice
is
of
the
life,
spice
so
of
to
life.
say.
That's just the summary of it. Okay, and Atiku chasing shadows with CSU certificate saga. Tinubu's Chicago lawyer saying that. Right, the story says, Arise Truth. Ex-VP accuses NBC of double standard. Pages 2 and 4 of the New Telegraph this morning has details of that story. And before I leave the New Telegraph, let's check the story. Flood. NEMA places Benway, 8 others on alert. Still, alerts everywhere. I hope that the concerned stakeholders are taking proactive measures, to make sure that there is no damage and if at all, it's minimal. Okay? As Cameroon releases water from Lango Dam, and Sonwolu set to restore Lagos Island drainage system. All right. Before leaving the New Telegraph this morning, what is Ezekwesili saying? Pipeline supplying politicians in Nigeria are grossly corrupt. That's coming from Ezekwesili there, and here also we have Sarah to court. Stop Akpabio, Oshiomole, others from collecting salaries, pensions as senators. You see, this one issue that needs to be dealt with headlong. We have many political office orders right now who are also in one organization or the other. Some are even pensioner with civil service, pensionable under certain political arrangement, currently holding political offices and still taking salaries. For
And
goodness
all of
sake.
these monies run into millions,
Millions of
sometimes
naira,
even
yes, of
billions.
naira. So, well, let's see how it goes now that Serap is rising to challenge this, by taking them to court. And there you find the picture of the president also on the New Telegraph this morning. It says Nigeria, AU seek truce in Israel Palestine war as death toll rises to 1,000. Goodness. Well, details of that you find on pages 2 and 4 of the New Telegraph this morning.
All right, let's move away from the New Telegraph newspaper to the Leadership newspaper for this morning. And of course, aside the pictures you find in the Leadership, we have a picture of the security situation in the country in figures. When you paint a picture with figures, let's take a look at that bold headline in the front page of the Leadership today. 1,591 students, 61 corps members abducted in 8 years. That's the bold one in the front page of the Leadership. Find writers to that. Experts call for surveillance cameras in schools. Terrorists kill 10, abduct many in fresh Zamfara attack. The issue of surveillance cameras, not just in schools. There was a time here in Ondo State where,
Yes, the governors.
there was this order that public places, public facilities should and must have cameras, CCTV cameras, and you begin to wonder how far we've really gone with that. That I will remember that there was a statement that said, okay, let's do this. What's the government doing in that regard? What are also private organizations also doing in that light? But looking at this figure, looking at the threats this is also posing to education. Imagine 1,591 students in 8 years, and we still look at the rate of out of school children, the rate of the lack of access to education in some areas, and you begin to wonder, when do we really close this gap? Let's check other headlines in the Leadership newspaper. Tinubu snobs Nijeku leaders. Tinubu snobs Nijeku leaders overtures for direct talks. Yes, the chairman of ECOWAS says snobbing the coup leaders, but of course we also understand that many persons, or at least some revert persons, have had to go to Nigeria to speak with the leaders right there. Perhaps no solutions, no agreement just yet. Other headlines in the Leadership: Kogi 2023. Don't follow strangers. That's credited to Tinubu, and that's a loaded one. Who are the strangers? Perhaps you need to take a read if you will be participating or perhaps interested in the politics in Kogi State. The elections will come in about a month and a half, thereabouts, and people will have to go to poll to select or to elect who will be the next governor. Senate reps at war over NDDC board management. Why the war? What exactly is there in NDDC or in that board, in that constitution of the board, that's warranting that war? You check the Leadership newspaper. FRSC reduces road traffic crash deaths by 23.1%. You want to know how that has been achieved? Leadership newspaper today. Those are some of the stories you find when you grab a copy.
All right, from the New Leadership, we go straight to Nigerian News Direct. Let's go directly there. Lango Dam flooding threatens food output in 8 states. As NEMA calls on state to activate emergency response plans, Governor Abdulrazak seeks immediate dredging of River Niger to avert losses. That would be a nice one there. Okay, and still on the Nigerian News Direct, we have here Kogi Imo Bayelsa polls. INEC fears fate of election over rising insecurity. Or check page 4 of Nigerian News Direct for details of our story. FG restructures Empire, targets unemployment of 5 million Nigerians in 5 years. Right, I think the Empower program is being restructured so that more people can be captured under it as the federal government hopes to engage 5 million Nigerians in 5 years. That means 1 million per year, right? Okay, check details of our story on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. And on page 3 also you find bandits kill 4 in Kaduna, injure others. I hope someday the stories will change. Alright, Nigeria needs 25 billion naira annually to achieve 4 million barrels per day oil output. That's coming from Aguru there. Check this is about on page 4 News Direct, and of course on page 2 have the story on flooding. Sanwo-Olu issues evacuation notice to Jankara, Pelobura, and Bombata traders. That will be all from the Nigerian News Direct this morning.
All right, from the Nigerian Direct, let's check Nigerian Tribune for you today. The picture of the Lagos State government is on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, flowing from the headline taken by Shade this morning, where the governor paid an on-the-spot assessment to areas that have been affected by flooding, particularly areas where drainages or improper use of the drainages is causing a lot of problems in Lagos, and you find them in their boots, signaling the fact that perhaps it's time for work. And the governor was giving order for the demolition of some structures in drain, the development or the safety of lives and property right there in Lagos. Well, other lines, the bold one in the Nigerian Tribune for this morning. Again, INEC raises concern over insecurity in Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa. That's on page 22. To the states where you have election holding later this year. The other, despite court order, you also find this one: near 1,000 killed. Palestinian war. Sad developments on the global scene. A lot happened over the weekend. And, looking at the figure, 1,000 killed. That 1,000, you be rest assured perhaps that it's a mixture of male, female, and all of that. The aggregates or the distribution. You also find this one in the Nigerian Tribune. Customs intercept 12 trailers of imported rice across southwest region. You find that story. You also see this one. FG schemes under my watch will no longer be business as usual. That's credited to Better Edu, the Minister of Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation. It's on the back of the suspension of the N-Power program. You'll find more stories in the Nigerian Tribune for today.
Okay, let's take what's on the Vanguard this morning. 107 senators urge caution. Rule of law as Keyamo Atiku disagree. Many forgeries that's coming from Atiku anyway. Why Atiku can't prove forgery against Tinubu, says Keyamo. We must exercise caution, observe principles of justice. That's coming from senators, on the matter. All right, on page 25 of the Vanguard this morning, U.S. moves nuclear aircraft carrier close to crisis zone, and that's concerning the believed war. What details of that you find on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And still on the Vanguard newspaper here. Okay, before I leave, INEC worried over security situation in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi. Well, I think almost all the newspapers this morning is having the story. But if you want to check the Vanguard, go to page 9 for details of that story. And here on page 8, humanitarian minister talks tough, 6 audit of MPAR program. And let's check Mr. and Mrs. for this morning says, should I read? Okay, let's leave that.
You find the Mrs. for yourself in the Vanguard newspaper for today. But let's take a look at what's happening in the sporting arena. Sporting Sun is here with us this morning. Interesting weekend for some, not so good for others. And that's what to also find at the front page of the Sporting Sun for today. Arsenal won, Manchester City new. It says Arsenal breaks 8-year against Man City. He said the boys are now matured and getting the points against the league champion. You also find this one: Brighton 2, Liverpool 2, Salah nets brace, Seagulls battle back to end point. But the big one, quite bold, in the front page of the Sporting Sun: Osime, I can't marry financially unstable woman, says I'll pay evil for evil. What does that mean? You check that also for yourself right there in the Sporting Sun. Some matches were also decided in the NPFL. Sunshine Stars in action yesterday, but quite sad. The darling team of the people of Ondo State just couldn't get the maximum 3 points they needed on the road against Lobby Stars. But that's where we leave it for the sports segment and the newspapers review today.
All right, that will be all on the newspapers headlines for this morning. We'll take a short breakdown, and when we are back, we'll be hitting the ground running, continue the discussion. On the discussion this morning, we'll be talking about fight against illicit substances and sensitization. Don't go away.
I had promised to reform the economy for the long-term good by fighting major imbalances that has plagued our economy. Ending the subsidy and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is imbalance. Thus, the effect in our economy immensely profited a tiny, the elite of the elite, you might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people who grow rich from them predictably will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch, and you are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses are struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
At our issue before us this morning, and that's talking about substance abuse. Yes, the fight against illicit substance and sensitization. To discuss this with us this morning is Mr. Albert Akpobowe. Yes, the PRO and the liaison J. It's nice to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here this morning.
All right. Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa, is gradually developing a reputation as a center for the use of drugs and also the trafficking of drugs. And from a report that was conducted recently, it's discovered that 1 out of 5 persons who have abused drugs one time or the other is suffering from one kind of drug related ailment and that. But how come Nigeria has developed this unwholesome reputation? How did we get here?
Viewers out there, good morning. Before I start, I would like to first of all appreciate OSRC TV management for bringing us here this morning. And also, I would like to appreciate my zonal commander, in the person of SCGN Para Julius Bauer FSI. So, your question is, how did we get here?
Yes.
Okay, Nigerians, we all know there's a common statement said curiosity bells the cat. Am I correct? Um, Basically, we know that we have a youthful population in Nigeria, and we know one thing that is very, very synonymous with the youths, and that is the issue of curiosity, the zest and the will to try something new. Uh, Basically, 90% of drug usage of people who tend to use drugs uh, is down to this. I'm curious. I want to know what is there. I want to know what is there. So out of that curiosity, let's take a risk, and that's it. And we also know the unemployment situation in Nigeria is also key.
Okay. Drug abuse has been a cause of, as you said, unemployment and all that. And they say the devil finds work for the idle hand and all that. But then, there's been a lot of sensitization going on, trying to dissuade the youth from doing this and all that. Why has this things not been effective, so to speak? Or does it mean it's not enough?
Again, the methods or the initiative it has adopted in trying to reduce this issue of drug abuse. And I would not want to go with you when you say it's not working. It is working a whole lot. We can see there's a drastic drop in drug use, though, uh, like I said, it is not something that can be curbed completely. There's always one or two persons who will still continue to try something new. Um, but the NDLA or the country in itself through the NDLA has adopted measures in reducing this use of illicit substances.
Okay. Zaid?
Of course, thank you so much, PRO of the NDLEA Zone J. I'm looking at a figure right here, and it's talking about what has happened under the current leadership from 2015 to 2023. It says 32,922 drug traffickers and dealers, um, you know, have been arrested. Among them, we have 38 drug barons. It says the agency has also seized 6,286 tons of illicit drug substances. You have the varieties, and it says this stat is from January 2015 to June 2023, and you begin to wonder how much more do we still have out there?
Like I said, or like we always say, the NDLA on its own cannot solve the problem. Very key in solving the problem of drug trafficking and drug abuse are stakeholders. Key stakeholders are traditional rulers, um, media houses, social media influencers. We know how key they are. We let's there's a popular, what's his name, Fasu. There's this guy from Ondo. These people are key. So in driving or in reducing this, we're wondering, okay, let's look at it now. In 2021, in Ondo alone, we arrested 299 drug offenders. In Ekiti, we arrested 59 drug offenders. So that's, and in the entire country, we had 12,306 drug offenders that were arrested. That represents a 2.88% of total arrested persons in the two states that is within the jurisdiction of Ondo Zone J, NDLA Ondo Zone J. On the issue of how much drug is out there, you can't tell. But we know that there is a whole lot of drugs out there, and like we said, the NDLA cannot do this alone. We need key stakeholders, we need their inputs, we need them to come up with information, because we are not omnipresent.
Okay.
Yes, we are not omnipresent.
All right. Talking about other key stakeholders that you'd like to work with. For instance, we have the NBC. Gone are those days when the kind of music that is played on air, must not have lewd contents, must not have people smoking or words that are not appropriate. But these days, they fly. So, do you have any kind of collaboration with the NBC, the entertainment industry, stakeholders there? Because this is an area to where you have a large number of youth and trying to experiment with drugs as well.
Okay, like I said, the NDLA through our WADA program, which is a War Against Drug Abuse initiative, within the last, within the dispensation of the current chairman who came in 2021, has tried to meet up with a lot of the stakeholders. Precisely, we've been in talks with even the NBC,
Okay.
because we know they control, they censor the media space.
Okay.
So you understand. So we identify them as key stakeholders, and we've brought them in. We've spoken to them. We've tried to see that this content that promotes drug abuse are in our music, in our shows, as in show business, we've tried to see that they are cut down to the barest minimum.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because there, of course, recently you heard the whole story of how things get blown up in the entertainment industry, and drug was actually one of the stories there too. Okay, and apart from the NBC, the entertainment world, and all that, we also have these social workers, the hotels, places where people go for relaxation. Do you at any point work with them or go to these spots for sensitization as well?
Like I said earlier, the WADA program of the NDLA, or the WADA initiative rather, which is War Against Drug Abuse Initiative, we've taken our time to go to not just schools, marketplaces. We've had meetings with this hotel owners association. We've spoken to them that if they see something, they should say something, because they are culpable if at the end of the day they fail to bring this information to our know. So, like I said, we've been meeting with key stakeholders. Everyone, no one is left out. We've identified that everyone is key in this fight against drug abuse. Sometimes last year, we wrote to the hoteliers. We met with some of these persons. We spoke to them on the need why they should give us information whenever they notice strange things about drug, as in strange drug patterns around their hotels. So, and in other locations, in other states in which we all know that the NGL is everywhere in Nigeria, in all states. So we've tried to meet with these big hotel owners, even small hotel owners. We identify all of them as stakeholders, and we've said, "Oh, you all are stakeholders. Please, when you see something, say something."
So, what has been the level of
how much has been
compliance?
said?
Yes.
How much has been said? On which end?
From them.
Uh, like I'll tell you, every system will always start slowly. We all know that the essence of establishing hotels are for profit purposes, and those drug users most times are the patronizers of this said hotel. So most times you see some people who want to relax, but there've been information. Like sometimes early this year, we got a call from one of the hotels at Alagbaka. Oh, there are drug users in this place, so we had to go there. We raided the place. So these are things that's going. But the process is, it's not going to just happen once. It's a process. It's a process, and as we continue to build collaboration with these people, we'll still get more information, and we'll still have our men out there who are on surveillance continuously in ensuring that we get information about, because we know a lot. We know that these things happen in hotels. Yes.
All right, let's now pedal back a little bit from the figure you read off earlier. 200 arrested in Ondo.
No, 299.
299
in 2021.
in Ondo.
Yes.
We have 59. Am I correct? In Ekiti.
In Ekiti.
Okay, so with this arrest, beyond the arrest, what then happens in all of these issues? Because now you also mentioned the fact that you sometimes get calls from hotel owners. Perhaps some others do not even make those call out, but you're on surveillance. What's the place of the law in guiding your operation? Because some say perhaps you've still been hindered by what the law really allows you, or how it allows you to really operate.
Okay, like we all know, there is no ideal law. The law is not perfect. There could be hindrances here and there, but again, what we as an agency, we're trying to work within the ambits of the law that is provided for us. We do not go outside this said law. Arrests, investigation. Okay, let's say we start from intelligence, arrests, investigation. Then, when you're found culpable in investigation, prosecution. It stays within that four phases: intelligence, arrest, investigation, and prosecution.
For many Nigerians who go to their TV sets, listen to their radio, read newspapers, and they see huge success stories from the NDLA in terms of arrests that have been made over monthly, yearly, and they say these guys are really doing a whole lot. More often than not, we don't see the stories of the conviction on the pages to say so suspect which was arrested sometimes last year is now serving so number of years in prison. Does your work not really get that much of a success? Because out of this 200, I'm beginning to wonder, or 299, how many persons even made it to court? How many were even, really served justice in the process? Because these are some of the things that say, oh, beyond arrest, perhaps there's really nothing happening again.
It will interest the public to know that we have an over 70% success rate in prosecution.
So why don't you make it public?
Okay, there.
So as to serve as deterrent.
Okay, let's make it this way. Let's say it this way. Prior now, the NDLEA operated or adopted the covert operation means. Our operations are always covert. It's really recently that our information we've become very overt, like we become very open. Prior now, you barely hear, but all thanks to the present chairman, chief executive, in the person of Brigadier General Buba Marwan, retired CON OFR DSS. With the coming of this chairman, we've been able to see we have an annual report which shows the number or the prosecution numbers. It's out there. If you want it, we'll always reel it out.
It's not about really. It's not about if Nigerians really want it. It's about pushing it to Nigerians to see. Look, this it might be a profitable venture, but it doesn't really pay when the long arm of the law catches up with you.
Yes, like I said, depend on you see the issue of letting people know that this person is now serving jail term, or this person has been convicted or has been acquitted, whatever the case might be. It's we won't. It's not within our purview. It's not within our purview per se, because but again, like I said, we've reeled out these numbers, especially in recent times in our annual reports. We've let people know that, and there are high-profile cases. We'll tell them, this person has been convicted. We don't have, but like I said, we have an annual report that shows the number of convictions we record every year.
Okay, so we're really hoping that
subsequently,
of course, because perhaps you do not think that will help your cause in trying to perhaps dissuade young Nigerians, dissuade people who perhaps might want to toe that line of business to see, look, the NDLA is out and it's recording success and all of that. So again, to another one, Shade really mentioned it. Perhaps just go first.
Okay, the thing is, I would like to ask you that, the instance of the usage, the peddling, the trafficking of drugs and all that is largely related to all the crimes and all that state of insecurity. Looking at Nigeria now and the state of security, do you think that more vigorous fight against substance abuse and trafficking would help, to stem the tide of insecurity in the country?
Like it's often said, drug abuse is a catalyst for crime commission. There is no sane man that can commit a crime without having used drugs. And like I always say, whenever I have a conversation with the media, I think the agency needs more funding, and more funding. The federal government is doing their best, but also stakeholders must come in. The traditional rulers, every one of us, we must come in. We must understand that the country is facing a drug crisis, and that drug crisis is fueling insecurity.
Are you by any way suggesting that the stakeholders also need to join in funding?
No, not necessarily.
Activities?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
What the stakeholders need to do is to give us more information, because if these guys do not have access to drugs, let me tell you, crime commission will be reduced by over 95%.
That's huge.
Yes, that's how it is. if we are able to curb the issue of drug abuse, we are sure of reducing crime commission by over 95%.
Okay, to achieve this, what do you think needs to be done differently?
What needs to be done differently? It still boils down to the people. Prior now, how many of you have seen our office? Our offices are always having very high walls. People say that. They say our offices are always having high walls. Our doors are open. All
So
of
the
this,
walls are high.
the walls are high, but our doors are open. You've been there. No one stopped you. And we've always been open to receiving informations.
Okay.
We need people to understand that the drug fight does not just the NDLA does not arrogate to itself the sole responsibility of tackling this drug crisis.
Okay, talking about that, that means you're asking for more informants.
More-
But you know how it is that the drug cartels are usually dangerous people that you don't just deal with. An ordinary person would not just want to jump on their case. Do you provide protection for your informant?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Once you and there's something you need to understand. Giving information, it's overt, it's closed. If you give me an information, nobody knows you're the one giving me an information.
But there have been cases where someone gives information, a kind of tip off, and before you know it, it gets to the accused. That all. So person
From
you
within
know,
from within
yes,
the-
from
from within
within
the
your
ambits of the
force.
NDLA.
Yes. Are you saying there are
No.
no bad eggs?
Let me say this. In every 12, there must be a Judas.
Sure.
But very importantly is the fact that we have a whole directorate that is mandated with the sole responsibilities of dealing with this Judas, which is the Directorate of Internal Affairs.
Okay.
So one thing I will assure stakeholders, one thing I will assure people, kind-hearted Nigerians who are keen on curbing this drug crisis, one thing I will assure them is the fact that their identity is highly protected.
Okay.
All they need to do is get through to us.
Okay. Above investigating, tracking, and prosecution of drug offenders and all that, do you do anything like rehabilitation of people who had been into drugs and probably they've had a change of heart? They want to, be clean.
Yes, we have a rehabilitation center here in Ondo as well. And we have rehabilitation centers spread across other state commands. We identify that, these persons have been dependent, so we bring them in and we counsel them and rehabilitate them and make them better. So we have rehabilitation centers across the country. Yes.
So, Mr. Akpoboe, let's paint a basic picture of this situation, what we call drug abuse and the fight against illicit drug, that you find or regularly find, or that you would find perhaps on a daily basis on our streets, perhaps here in Ondo State. What constitutes that drug abuse, really?
There are three concepts that, or let's put it to two. When a drug deviates from being medically approved, when you use a drug that is not prescribed, it is termed that you have abused drugs. We people even abuse paracetamol. You see some of us, in the morning we just feel slight headache. So a lot of people you see we are even abuse antibiotics. So once a drug is not medically prescribed and it deviates from social norms or from norms, let's not put social norms now, from norms, one must have been seen to have abused drug. So if I get your question clearly, you're asking for what constitutes drug abuse, right?
Yes, and the ones we regularly find.
The ones regularly find. Very
Or
regular.
perhaps the ones that, we have
We're
more
talking about
active
illicit-
partakers. but
illicit
perhaps we would
drugs,
say,
I guess.
Okay,
they really
illicit.
do not know that this, it's what the NDLA can really arrest them for?
Very common we know is cannabis, which is popularly called igbo or marijuana in our streets. And we know it is the most abused around here. We talk about psychoactive substances like tramadol, codeine, retinol. Those are psychoactive substances. And you find out lately people have been taking some unconventional substances. Some people have been inhaling sewage pits just to get high. Though those unconventional substances are not legislated upon, so people will not go after you because they are not legislated upon. But there are substances, let's look at substances that are legislated upon. Cannabis, tramadol, retinol. There are variants of cannabis now, loud, Colorado. Then you also look at when you continue to go up, you see things like methamphetamine, which is popularly called ice, on the streets.
So at what point can the NDLA really say we're stepping in?
We've stepped in already. Well, we've stepped in
Because
already.
there's usually a conversation around the quantity of intake. At what point can the NDLA say, yes, you've really violated what the law says and all of that?
We've stepped in already, like I said. We must understand something. Even if you're taking 1 gram,
some of these drugs that you've mentioned, some of them are medically approved. People who do hard jobs, like manual laborers, like road transport workers, or these Okada riders, they think they need it to re-energize themselves and all that. So that's what Said is saying. But at what point would you say that they are abusing drugs?
let me say this. Have you seen NDLA in the marketplaces recently?
I've not.
Then which means you're not observant enough.
I've not.
Okay, the truth is we've been, through the WADA initiative, which is War Against Drug Abuse, we've been going to the marketplaces, we've been going to churches, we've been going to, what's it called, palaces of our traditional rulers. We've been talking to them.
Okay.
We've been telling them that, yes, temporarily you can get relief from drug usage, but the truth is drug abuse or drug usage is never a solution to this, as in to being energized. Because a lot of people, they have a misconception of, oh, when we use drug we get high. You know, there are two things that drug can do to you. Drug could either play the role of a stimulant or the role of a depressant. What are stimulants? These are drugs that fasten the working of the central nervous system. What are depressants? These are drugs that slows down the working of the central nervous system. So a lot of people feel, oh, when we take drugs, it acts as stimulants, we become agile. No, but the NDLA has been coming out lately through the WADA initiative since 2021 and telling people that no, drug does not help. Drug kills.
Okay. All right. I would like to end this conversation with that word you say, drug does not help, drug kills and all that. Yes, we could spend the whole day talking about these particular issues because it's something that is greatly affecting our society. Parents who want to know what are those things I should watch out for in my kids, to know if they've been, doing drugs or something. How do I get help if I already have a kid or what that is into it and all that? So that means that some other time we're still going to be calling you on the show to shed more light on the fight against drug abuse in Nigeria, particularly in Ondo State. Well, we want to say thank you, Mr. Albert Akpobuwe, yes, the PRO NDLA Zone J, for coming on the show today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right now we'll take a short break, and when we are back, the other part of our discussion continues. You don't want to miss. Stick around.
I had promised to reform the economy for the long-term good by fighting major imbalances that has plagued our economy. Ending and the preferential exchange rate system were key to this fight. This fight is to define the fate and future of our nation. Much is imbalance. Thus, the effect in our economy immensely profited a tiny elite, the elite of the elite, you might call them. As we move to fight the flaws in the economy, the people who grow rich from them predictably will fight back through every means necessary. But we are ready. Our economy is going through a tough patch, and you are being hurt by it, I know. The cost of fuel has gone up. Food and other prices have followed it. Households and businesses are struggling. Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us. Already, the federal government is working closely with states and local governments to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of our people across socio-economic brackets.
Yes, so welcome back on today. As we promised you, right now we'll be hitting the discussion on immunization plus and its acceptability. As we've got Dr. Akinpelumi Adefesoye in the studio this morning. He's the Director, Disease Control and Immunization in Ondo State. It's nice to have you, Doctor.
Thank you, moderator. I want to say good morning to everybody.
All right.
And abroad.
Okay, immunization, yes, it's aimed at the prevention of certain infectious diseases and all that. But in Nigeria, it seems usually faced with the problem of acceptability and what have you. What's the level of acceptability now? First, you tell us more on immunization, then you tell us the level of acceptability right now.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Again, before we start, let me kindly say good morning to every listener. And it is my pleasure to be here to talk about this very germane topic, immunization. And when we talk about immunization is a process, it's a whole lot of process of administering some substances, to our body in order to uh, prepare our body against or to fight against some diseases. Vaccination or immunization. Vaccination is different from immunization.
What's the
anyway.
difference, please?
Vaccination is a process of introducing the chemical, the substance. So your body begins to metabolize and process it and bring about what we call immunization. If the body can bring the vaccine that you have introduced into the system into a kind of ability to fight against the specific disease for which the vaccine was meant. So immunization has taken place. So some people could have gotten vaccinated without being immunized.
Okay,
And,
meaning the vaccine did not work?
It might not be so. Probably the vaccine is so many factors can come into play when we consider that. However, we're talking about immunization. So immunization, like I said, is a whole lot of process. It's a way of having vaccinated and getting our body prepared to fight against some infectious diseases. There are some diseases that are so common in our neighbors here, in our neighborhood here, Nigeria, tropical Africa, because of the kind of way we live, probably, and the agents that are responsible for these diseases find it so conducive and easy to develop and germinate in our environment here. So we got to get vaccinated and get immunized against all of these diseases. And I want to say that particularly that immunization is the simplest and the most cost-effective ways of preventing diseases, because there is a whole lot of ways of prevention of diseases. But we discovered that vaccination or immunization is the most cost-effective ways of preventing infectious diseases. And we have so many vaccines that we use to get ourselves immunized. We get vaccines against poliomyelitis, we get vaccines against yellow fever, we get vaccines against hepatitis, we get vaccines against measles, tuberculosis, COVID-19, and a whole lot of that, mumps, whooping cough, diphtheria, and all of them. When we talk about acceptability in Ondo State, I want to really congratulate Ondo State people and Ondo State government I'm congratulating Ondo State government in the sense that the government has a group of people that have a high understanding of immunization. And I want to congratulate the people of Ondo State in the sense that God has really endowed them with that knowledge, to enable them understand immunization, what immunization can do for them and what immunization can protect them from. And they know what they suffer from if they do not get immunization. And no wonder you begin to have a very high level of acceptability of immunization processes in Ondo State.
So, perhaps go ahead.
Okay, while you were talking, you mentioned some of the things, diseases people get vaccinated against. You mentioned polio,
Yeah.
and you mentioned diphtheria. For polio, I think Nigeria, we're now having zero polio cases.
Yeah.
So do we still need to continue vaccination?
Thank you so very much. Nigeria has been declared polio-free by the World Health Organization and the concerned agents, that monitor poliomyelitis, countries in the whole world. And that certification was given us, I think, in the year 2021. So the fact that we have been declared polio free should not guarantee or should not give us the what do I call it now? She should not give us the fact that we should relax from pursuing the disease. Of course, the sensitization of people in our environment. We want to bring the awareness onto them the more that they really need to get out and get vaccinated. NIPD's National Immunization Plus Days is a campaign-like program, 4, 5, 6 days at most, and we give all the vaccines that are available in the routine vaccination process. And the routine vaccination, the other one, routine vaccination is available throughout the day, throughout the year in our various health facilities. So the same vaccine that we use for routine immunization is the same vaccines that we use for NIPDs. The only thing is when we want to engage on an national immunization plus days, we have to hire some non-medical personnel. We involve the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, everybody, every stakeholder, everybody in the state will get to know that a program of immunization is coming, and it will stay for like 3, 4, 5 days at most, and people should come out. And that is when you see our health workers going from places to places, from house to house. They go to churches, mosques, marketplaces, carrying their vaccines and all of that, to ensure that eligible people got vaccinated. But the routine is usually in our health centers, and it's usually from Monday to Monday like that, every day, every time. The vaccines are there in our health center, to further ensure that we reach some communities that are far in the interior.
I was going to ask that, looking at the terrain of some localities, how are you also coping with that? Because the spotlight usually is on perhaps the state capital and some major towns, and you begin to wonder, do people really have this access in
Yeah.
the remotest of places?
Yeah, I was going to say something that as an extension to the people, to the group of people that stay in the health facilities to vaccinate people that come around them, we have another group of people, these people, they go into the interiors, communities where people find it so difficult to come out, probably for distance reasons, for bad terrains, for whatever reason that is not bringing them to town. Our people do go there to reach them. We call them the outreach group of health workers. So they will go in a package of their health services, not only with vaccination, with some other health commodities that we believe may be beneficial to them when we get there. And we don't just go there on a day like that and stop, because of the fact that we know that if we go there today, there might be some people that are not available, that to be available tomorrow or thereafter. You get me? So what we do is, routinely, we do visit them.
So,
and we do get the head of such communities informed a day prior our coming. We tell them that we'll be coming tomorrow at so time. We are gathering under the tree in so. They just give a description of a very conspicuous place with the involvement of the community people. So we plan this together, and we could give them what service they need.
So, Doctor, I understand that the Immunization Plus outreach or the campaign recently ended right here, particularly in Ondo State. How much of a success was that? And when you also take a look at the care for these products, in quotes now, that people get administered with, how are you also monitoring that?
Yeah, thank you.
At the remotest of places.
Yeah, thank you. We started the last round of NIPDS on the 30th of September, and it went through to 3rd of October. However, in Ondo State, to enable us to reach further, because you discovered that there were holidays in between. The very Saturday we started was an environmental sanitation day that placed restriction to the movement of people, right? So we presume we will not have full length of our period to work. So and then Monday was another holiday to celebrate the Independence Day. So 2 days were off it. So for us to make up for the 2 days, we extended our service till 5th of October. This is just to ensure that we capture every eligible persons, adult or young. And so I want to say that the Ondo State records a high level of success, because there are parameters we use to measure our performances.
Tell us parameters.
Sorry, that time might not be able to permit me to say that now. And at the same time, I am not in the right position to do that, because there are some external agencies that will come around to do that after the whole exercise. They call them independent monitors, and the independent monitors are being controlled by WHO, World Health Organization. So they will go out to see what we said we have done, and they will mark us and give us our report.
Maybe from the last assessment.
Yeah, from the previous assessment, Ondo State had been ranked so high, and this time around, the feelers we're having is that we are performing brilliantly well. So concerning the preservation of our commodities, like you mentioned, we have our vaccines. We don't use only vaccines. There are some other things that are added together to make the work go. So we call it vaccine devices. So right away from the state here, we have what we call the cold chain system. Right away from the state headquarters here, down to the last point where the thing will be used. So these vaccines will have to be kept within an acceptable temperature range as is being prescribed by the manufacturer of the products. And we do not go below or above that. We should not go below and above. So we have cooling devices across board from the state. Okay, that there where we have our deep freezer system, everything run and being powered by generator. We are not relying on the national grid because we know it's epileptical, in nature. But thanks to our government, who had been making funds available for us to run diesel, to run our engines on diesels, And at local government level, where we take the vaccines to, there are also standby mechanical generators. We also have solar deep freezers, that provides cooling condition as being prescribed by the manufacturer for preservation of all of these vaccines.
All
Now,
right.
when you see our people moving up and down with the vaccines, there are also a cooling device called cold buses, or we call it cold buses. We have vaccine carriers.
All right.
All of these, they have their cooling things, their big ice block inside those geostiles they are carrying,
Okay.
just to ensure that the thing is being kept within the temperature.
All right,
range.
Dr. Akinkwelumi, before you go, there are some immunization that is currently cogent, like the COVID, diphtheria, or any of it that you consider very important that is ongoing in the state and you want the people to know.
Yeah. Thank you so very much. I want to say that all vaccines are so important for us, but vaccines have been are being given to people according to their age group, not their desire, according to their age group. Some vaccines are there for children between the age 0 to like 59 months, and some are there for people above 18 years, like that, and that is COVID-19, that we want to also encourage all people to ensure they get it. The government has specified that an individual needs 3 shots of that. Dose 1, dose 2, dose 3, which I have completed. I wouldn't know, maybe you
I
have.
have.
Oh,
already.
great. So, if somebody has gotten one, the person needs to go and get the second and the third, so that the person will have what we call complete protection against that disease. If you have 2 out of the 3, your protection is only partial.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Akinpelumi Adefesoye. Is the Director, Disease Control and Immunization of the state. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Yes, dear viewer, this is where we'll be wrapping up the show for today. Zaid, what's the takeaway?
Of course, the summary is to take responsibility for whatever it is you do. As parents, you have a responsibility to try as much as possible ensure that your kids, your child, get immunized on the very important days that they have to be at their clinic. I'm Saeed Aribisala. Do enjoy the rest of your Monday.
All right, I'm Fola Shade Ogidon saying enjoy the rest of your day.